Robert Drury back again. And this is not going to be a quest to get to 2200. This is going to be the second video on my latest over-the-board tournament, which was the Eastern Kentucky Opening. Or, I'm sorry, the Eastern Kentucky Open. And in this video, I have the game round 3 and round 4 games. And these two games will go quite a ways into actually deciding who wins the tournament and who qualifies for the Kentucky Closed. So with that, I will get started. And my third round opponent was Luke Wojnicki. I hope I pronounced that right, and I apologize if I didn't. But he comes in at 1898. He's a junior player, and he's been his rating's been shooting up quite a bit here lately. I have never faced him before, but he is a very talented young player. All right, so we'll get started. And I had B3, oh, I'm sorry, I had white in this game, and I started off with B3, which is technically it's an Imzo Larson, but I always intend to steer it into a Hippo type of setup. He plays E4, or I'm sorry, E5. And I bring my bishop up. He brings his knight out, and now, because he had his pawn on E5, I bring my pawn to D3. And now he brings his D pawn out, D5, and I will meet it with E3. In this way, if he pushes, I can just lock it in. If he pushes, I can lock it in. If he pushes his D pawn, I would lock it. If he pushes his E pawn, then I've got options as far as whether to take or lock in. All right, so now he plays bishop out. I'm continuing with my Hippo with my knight around to D2. And he plays the F3 move, and I don't see this very often. I'm not sure what the theory behind this is. I assume he's maybe pushing down the board and getting a big pawn center rolling down the king side of the board. All right, so I continue with my standard Hippo. Now he plays the pawn here. Now I cannot, if I play the G3 move, then he can just put his bishop here and force me to trade off bishops. And that's not what I want to do. So I play H3, because now I can still push the G pawn and bring my bishop out. And I don't have to worry about trading this bishop off. Okay, he brings this other bishop out, and I bring my G3 pawn up. And all right, so now we see he's gonna push down the board and try to get pressure on the king side of the board. Now here the engine just wants you to go ahead, play C4, and start expanding yourself on the queen side. Now I went ahead and played bishop to G2. He plays his knight around, and now his knight comes here. This knight is the D or E7 knight's defending the other knights, defending the D5 pawn, which makes my knight to E3 move less effective because he's got the D pawn already defended twice. All right, I bring my pawn up. I'm just continuing with the Hippo setup. And he plays let's go back. What have we got going? He plays his H pawn. So now it's like, okay, he's going to push down the board. If he pushes, I could push forward. I can push right now forward. Then if he takes, I take back. And if he pushes, he's just kind of locking it down. Now the engine likes me to continue with either C4 or B4 and just ignore over here. However, I played knight. Let's see, where was the knight move at? knight move was not in this. It was not one of these scenarios. I played knight to c3, and I'm intending to come here and hit the bishop. He can just play the a pawn, and it negates that whole thing, and it's just kind of a wasted move. And that's what he does. I play my b pawn, and now with the intent of coming in here with the knight on c3, the other knight on d2 coming into b3 and trying to target the c5 square. All right, now he pushes the f pawn. So now he's got 5 pawns rolling. So I've got to hit these pawns and break them up. Right here, the engine gives it as minus 0.58 for black. And what I play is I play the h pawn up. And now I'm forcing him to make a decision. If he takes, I take back. And once again, I'll consider that a win. If he pushes, I will consider that a win too, because now it's breaking up the 3 pawns. He gets space. He gets space on the king side of the board, but in the Hippo, we're generally used to playing with limited space, so we're used to it, and it doesn't feel too awkward. What he does, he pushes the pawn. He's got all kinds of space on the king side of the board, and now I bring my knight into here, and here the engine says it's wrong. Just bring your rook over, and I'm going astray over with the knight here. I can still push the knight here, but he can push, and he can just kick it right back out. Or I put in here, he could take, I take, and my pawn structure's kind of a wreck. All right, he finds the move, rook to f8. And so now I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? He's push here. Let's see, he's got 1, 2, he's got 3 pieces aiming at this square. So I got 1, I got 2 defenders. So he could actually push, I take, he takes, and he ends up coming out ahead on that. So what I do is I counter. I see he's going to push, so I'm going to counter. And now if he pushes, I can break up the center a little bit. Actually, if he pushes, I would just push, and he would lose the bishop. But he takes, and I take back, and the c pawn push actually relieved the pressure that he was putting on me with the f push. Okay, so now he brings his knight around, and now here I can castle. I can play queen to c2, and the engine likes those 2 moves. I play c5. The engine doesn't hate it, but it wasn't the engine's top 3 choices. He drops back, and now I play queen to c2. And I'm just planning on castling long, getting my rook here, and maybe harassing his queen. All right, he castles long too, and I castle long. Well, he castles long first, then I castle long. And now he drops his queen to e8, and once again he's finding the best moves. He's getting the queen out of the way of the discovered. And now I bring my knight around, and here I start to get myself in trouble. I'm getting my 2 knights misplaced over here. He still can push down the board this way. So what do? He can actually play the queen here, and now he could hit this, and if I move that away, he can also hit here. However, I can drop my knight to here, and it will protect this square. Now at this point, black's just winning. He's I don't know if it's technically winning. He's just got a very advantageous. He's got a big advantage. All right, now he needs to find e4. However, my opponent does not find e4. He continues with his f push, and that was inaccuracy. It basically gave his advantage away. But then again, we aren't computers, so it's more difficult for us to find the correct moves. All right, so I bring my bishop up, and now my bishop is outside of the pawn. Well, he could have locked me down with pushing the pawn, but the bishop gets on the outside, and it's also threatening to take here, and it's backed up by the queen. So he's got to do something. He brings his bishop around, and now I just bring my knight over, and I hear. Actually, I thought about taking, take back. However, the engine actually says that knight to c3 was the best move. You're just improving the position of your knight. All right, he brings his rook down, and I bring my rook over defending because I figure, all right, if he takes, I'm going to take back, and I've got my rook lined up. Now, he takes, and I take with my queen. Now, the engine preferred taking knight at c takes. And it's slightly better than the queen takes. Took with my queen. And now he's lining his two rooks up. He's hitting down through here. But everything's defended. So I bring my rook, my knight out. And I'm willing to trade pieces off. And here we are. We've had some trades, and black is slightly better. Okay, so this is similar to the other games. It was game 30. We were under 5 minutes. He was under 5 minutes, so I also quit taking notation. Matter of fact, he was in major time trouble at this point, and I did not take any more notations. And I know that he took this. I'll go through a couple moves. I know he took here. I took back, and he had to get this knight moved out of the way before he could bring his queen down. But eventually, what happened was the queens both left the board, and it ended up with his two knights kind of back here because he was just dancing around, and he ended up dropping a pawn, and he flagged. He was down a pawn. He was going to have a hard time. I believe he would have had a hard time holding the position. I could have been wrong on that, but he eventually flagged, and that took it down to now we're done with the third round, and I've got 2.5 out of 3. And going into the fourth round, there was 4 players. They were all standing at 2.5, with me being one of them. So the fourth round was going to determine who was the winner of the Eastern Kentucky Open and who gets the qualifying bid. All right, so now we will get to the round that pretty much decides the winner. All right, now, in this round, I got the black pieces. I'm playing Nick McVeigh. Nick he's a good player. He's very aggressive. Nick actually had the upset of the tournament. He took out at the highest rated player. We had a junior in the tournament that's rated 2140. He was the highest rated player in the tournament, and Nick had beaten him in round 2. And that was a big one because it gave the rest of us a little bit of a chance because Chris has been very difficult to beat. Now, me and Nick have played 2 times. No, I'm sorry. This will be the second time in the last month. And I played the Hippo against him in Elizabethtown. I was fortunate enough to win, and I was going to play the Hippo again against him. Like I said, he's a very aggressive player, and we were both playing for wins because we figured a draw would be difficult for either one of us to actually win the Open if we weren't playing for the win because we didn't know what was going to go on the other board. All right, so I will get started. And Nick played the knight move out, which is the ready opening. And I continue with my Hippo. and he's going to fianchetto his bishop, and I bring my bishop out. Now he brings his bishop, and I'm going with my typical Hippo. He castles, and I'm just continuing standard Hippo fashion, and he brings his pawn up. So I bring my e-pawn up, so I'm going to just be able to meet anything he does with a push. Okay, he brings his knight around. My knight comes out. His pawn comes up, so he's got 2 pawns in the center. He's got a slight advantage right now, and I'm going ahead now. I'm going to fianchetto my bishop. Brings his bishop out, and there comes the fianchetto. And he brings his queen backing up the bishop, and he's hitting this square. And as I've said many times, you do not want to trade the dark squared bishop off, so you push the pawn to prevent that from happening. All right, now he plays his rook over, and at this point, the pawn on e4 is only defended by the knight. So I've got the knight to f6 available to hit the pawn because, all right, let's play it. If he pushes, I can bring my knight in here, and we're forcing some stuff off the board. I also have the ability to bring my knight into here and win the bishop pair. However, he dropped back. He didn't push, and I just continued with my plan to win the bishop pair. Okay, he pushes a pawn. He's going to just right away. He's going to try to kick the knight, but the knight had no intention to stand there in the first place. So I took the bishop. He took back with the queen, and now I can castle because the h6 pawn is only attacked once now. Okay, so he brings his f pawn up, so he's going for a pawn push, trying to get aggressive. Right here, the engine says push c5, and black is just slightly better. I'm waiting though. Not a smart decision, because now it gives him the opportunity to push. I pushed back, and now I'm kind of in a French type of structure, I suppose. He can also play g4. So basically, if I go back, the correct move was just go ahead, push, and let's see if we can get something happening. Now, if I was to push, he takes. I got to take back with the pawn, I would assume. Let's see. Well, let's do it. Right. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Okay. So if I pushed and he takes, I take back with the b, and I've got the b pawn. I've got 2 pawns here, and I'm actually increased my advantage because now I've got pawns. I got 2 pawns in the center to his 1. I've got the bishop also challenging the diagonal. I got the other bishop opened up, and this is an area that I'm going to have to improve on my play. I'll win to push that c5 pawn. All right, but anyway, we'll get back. Let's get back. All right, let's get back. I played the pawn, and he plays his king over, which was to me, it was a wasted tempo at the moment. I bring my rook over. I want to protect this pawn. I want to protect the bishop, and also just trying to get it out of the way, basically. I wanted to get it out of the way of the rook. He brings this knight down, and now the engine once again calls for c5. I played my rook over, and I'm thinking, all right, if he pushes, I can take. Either way, I'll take, and I'm blind up on his queen. All right, he brings his knight back, And now let's drop back. Now the engine says push D5. Push D5. If he blocks it, brings down here, you can still push here, and you've already got your queen lined up. Okay, but I play the F pawn. And it's not, it's just wasn't as good of a move. I mean, it's not horrible, but it wasn't as good. He played his G pawn. Now I was anticipating him, him to take. We take back and we release the tension a little bit, and then if he takes here, I can take here, and the pressure's released. However, he pushes his G pawn, so now it's like, all right, what do I do? Engine says queen to D7, rook to B8, and just kind of hold the position. I brought my king over, and the reason I brought my king over is I wanted to have it here, being able to protect the knight if it had to. Engine doesn't like that move, but now he plays a D5 push, and it just wasn't a good situation, because now he's opening up the file here, and he's got his queen lined up facing the rook, and it's just in the wrong spot. So I take. Now if he takes back, I'm going to take with the knight. If he takes here, I'm taking with the knight, and it's a discovered coming. So he actually takes with the G pawn. I take with the knight because he cannot recapture, because he would drop his queen. He drops his queen back to D2, and I just take the pawn. And at this point, I've got a pretty decent advantage. I don't know if it would be considered winning, but it's a pretty decent advantage. Now he takes. He takes there, and I bring my rook over just to defend this bishop. And let's go back. The engine says bishop to C6, rook to B8, queen to E6. I mean, it likes all these moves, and there's not a whole lot of difference between them. I played my rook over because now I want to be able to move my queen away and not drop this bishop if it ever comes open. All right, so he brings his knight around, and now this was just, I mean, I don't know. He said he was sacrificing the piece, but the knight coming around just creates problems for him. So I took, he took, and now my knight comes in to E3, and I believe now it is a winning. I have a winning advantage. Okay, he drops back, and here I took the knight at F. The engine actually liked that better, but in hindsight, I thought that maybe it would have been better off with the knight, taking the knight on D1. However, I took the knight on F1. The engine says it likes that better. He took back, and now my queen comes in, and I am threatening. I don't know. I'm threatening to push here, and he moves away, and I get the queens off the board. However, he drops down, and here it's a blunder, but all I saw was he was attacking the pawn. I didn't stop to think, just push the D pawn. And basically, I pushed the D pawn, and the game is most likely pretty much done at that point. However, what I do, I just defend the pawn. And this is a situation that I had in the first game where my opponent did the same thing. My opponent in the first game responded to a threat when he could have just won the exchange. And here, I responded to a threat instead of just pushing. But now he's got the knight coming in, and I'm thinking, okay, now it's getting a little dicey. And what I do, I could very easily have just moved the bishop here, challenged the knight, because if I move the bishop here, he's got to do something with it, because now the bishop is blocking the check on the king, and it's also given an escape square. He would have to basically, I mean, he could bring his bishop here, and I just push, and let's see, he takes, and then I take, he takes, and just take back, and I'm up a full rook. But I did not bring my bishop there. Instead, I played a move that was a blunder that gave my entire advantage away. And he could just take. And it was not a good move. I also thought about, and I thought about this particular move, and I thought if I take, he takes, I take, and well, let's see, he takes back this way, and I thought about playing that, but I thought, you know what, that's just, it gives them opportunities, so I didn't go down that route. Instead, I played the pawn up, but he didn't take. He did not take. He gave me a tempo. And once he gave me the tempo, my advantage is back to a winning advantage. I played my rook over, and now my rook can come over here, and it can kick his queen out of the position, and it's also defending the d5 pawn. Okay, he pushed pawn, I come up here, and now I'm once again threatening to take. He drops back, and we take with check. He moves his king, and now I get the queens. Well, I'm trying to get the queens off the board. He's got one final thrust. I can't take. I can't. If I take here, he's going to take with check. So I have to defend. All right, so basically, if I take here, he comes here, and I've got some problems. I'm still winning, but it's just no need to play like that. So let's go. I just defended, and now he's got to figure out what to do. The knight's under attack, the queen's under attack. He took the queen off the board, and then he retreated his knight, and take the pawn, and here we had quit taking. I'd quit taking notation, so I don't have anything further on here. But he's down the exchange. He's down 3 pawns. I have a winning advantage. Eventually, he tried to keep his pieces on the board, but I was able to take both the bishop and the knight off the board for just my bishop, and it ended up being 2 rooks against the rook, and he eventually had to sack the rook, and he fought to the very end, but I ended up checkmating him at the end. So with that, I finished the tournament 3.5 out of 4, and now I've got a clear tie for first place. So now I'm waiting to see what the final game happened in it, and we had to wait around probably for an hour for the final game to finish, because there was some controversy with some of the rules that had to do with person being in time trouble, had to do with the how they were going to proceed. Person was in time trouble. I think he stopped the clock, made an illegal move. There was something that took place. I didn't get the full gist of the details behind it, but after about 45 minutes, they have finally resumed the game, and the game ended up being a draw. So both of those two gentlemen finished with 3 out of 4, and Chris, who was the tournament favorite, he finished 3 out of 4. So there was like a 3-way tie for second place. But I won the tournament outright, and I was happy about that. And I also picked up 49 rating points. So at the end of this tournament, I went to 1864. So with that, I will see you on the next video, and I plan on continue playing the Hippo, and I will see you.